you're about to jump into.
It's that trigger that lets you know that a story is coming.
Yeah.
And it makes you excited that you're going to experience something that you yourself as a person have maybe never experienced. You get to live 1,000 different lives through stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did your parents feel about you going to libraries and being so engrossed in these stories?
You know, I got to answer that in a couple of ways. First of all, my mom was a big influence in my reading. She had a very hard time reading.
Yeah.
Like me, she was dyslexic, although she was never diagnosed with it. But now, as an adult, I realize that I am, and I see the problems that I have. I see those same problems in her.
Absolutely.
And so, for her to spend so much time reading when it was something that she struggled with is really amazing.
Yeah.
And I of course, who doesn't love the Dr. Seuss books?
Yeah.
Those are really hard to read as an adult. But if you have something like dyslexia, which makes it harder to see the words and pronounce them, she really struggled with that. And of course, the harder the books, the more rhyming there were, the more I loved it, and the more she hated it. So the other thing was, you asked how they felt about it. What always surprised me was how much they would let me go and do things. So if I wanted to, I would just say, hey, I'm going to the library. That's a mile away, and I would walk up there as I would say 10, 12-year-old. That's kind of young.
That's a very different world than we live in today.
It is. And I never let you do that.
No, you didn't. But I think that's fascinating. And as myself being diagnosed with dyslexia and working through that my entire life, definitely a topic that I want to broach with you during this interview. Maybe not at this moment. I want to get a little bit more fine-tuned detail on your upbringing into becoming an author. But there's definitely a lot of interest that goes into that, particularly in the three-dimensional thinking that comes from being dyslexic. A lot of people think very linearly, whereas dyslexic people, they tend to think about them in 3 dimensions. They can look at it, they hear a story, and they see it more readily than a lot of other people. And I think that's something that as you went through your journey in writing your stories, you were seeing the story and then you were writing down what was going on.
Yeah.
You had to experience it yourself through your mind's eye before you could put it down on paper.
Right. When I write, I do imagine being in the story. I see the scene, I see the people, I play the scene the way I think that it would play out if it was just kind of like a movie and it was rolling.
Yeah.
And I watch it and I observe it, and then if I don't like something, or if I think it needs something, I add that part of the story into my mind, and then I watch it over again. The way that I like to describe it is, I don't want to participate in the story. I don't want to be a character in the story. I've said occasionally that, maybe I'm, a fly on the wall.
Okay.
But the one that I love the best is, I'm the red shirt character, right? I'm not going to survive this scene. I'm not going to survive this book. But I'm there, and I don't really have much of a speaking line, but I get to see what the characters are seeing. I get to experience what they're experiencing, what they're looking at, maybe a little bit about what they're feeling. I feel like I'm close to them, but I'm not really participating. I'm just a red shirt.
Interesting. So you kind of put yourself in that third person narrative while you're experiencing it, but then you're able to transition yourself into writing a first person narrative about experiencing the situation. So it's almost like you're watching what happens, and then you're going to go tell the story of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, once I get the story kind of worked out in my mind and see it, and I can feel the flow of the story that I want to tell, then I'll start writing it down, and it flows.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's almost like it's trying to get out of your brain. If you don't write it down, it'll drive you insane.
Yeah.
So you wanna write it or type it or whatever. You got to get it out and put it on paper, just so that you don't have to think about it again, right? You've put it somewhere, you've given it a shape, and brought it into existence.
That's fantastic. Tell me about a moment in which you had a piece of Dan Tesson that needed to get out of you, that you had been ruminating about, and you may have woken up in the middle of the night and said, I need to put this on paper because I've experienced it so many times. It's so important to me, and I need it to exist in the real world.
Oh, there's so many parts of Dan Tesson that, I think that what we do when we write is we don't write about things from our lives. We use things that we've experienced in our lives to flavor, kind of like a spice would flavor a dish, right? We use that to kind of to flavor the story.
Yeah.
In Dan Tesson, there's an entire chapter where they go and they visit the blacksmiths. And that came out of you and I growing up around the blacksmiths and really enjoying that society. I really enjoyed writing that scene. That whole scene to me, it was, how many years did we, I mean, we still do blacksmithing.
Yeah,
it's been,
to this day.
It's been 2 decades.
At least. So I'm 33 now. And I was 12 when we started that journey.
Okay, yeah. So it's been a while, but we haven't gone the entire time with them. I think maybe we were there for 5 years where we went to the club meetings and participated and stuff. Is that, do you think it's about right? Is it longer than that?
I think it was longer than that because that was where we were hard participating in it. And then we became a little bit more, not detached from it, but we had found the people who had resonated with us and knew who was important to us. So we ended up spending more time with those people. These were the Mark Hendersons, the Paul DeFrancescos. These are the people that meant a lot to us.
Right.
That we were like, I need more of you in my life.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I wrote that scene, a lot of that, if I don't say it was 10 years, whatever it was, I condensed it down into one chapter. And I tried to touch on a lot of the things that were very important. There, you talked about Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, for those of you who don't know Paul, Paul was is a really big guy, and he's got a big booming voice. And he is definitely not an introvert. He is the center of attention, and he will gather up everyone, and he has like a magnetic personality.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And so I put him in the story doing one of the things that we watched him do, where he talked to a whole group of people and kind of got them together and got them energized about something. And I don't want to go into too many of the details of that part of the story because I'd like people to enjoy it as they read it. But his personality was definitely in the book. I brought that out. And I really, I thought about that. I thought about putting them in there, and that would be one of those things that I thought about a lot. How can I honor these people who invited us into their world and really made us feel important and taught us a lot of things that we never would have learned by ourselves. But they were and are a fantastic community.
Yeah.
And even though we've kind of moved on and expanded what we're doing and don't interact with them quite as much as we used to, they played a very important part in our lives. And
incredibly so. I mean, for me as a young man growing up and seeing these individuals that were so willing to be of service to others, that were so kind, so inviting. And one of the most pivotal things in my development as a person was that my first pair of tongs came from Allison Finn. And that you and I had to fight a bunch of other blacksmiths because everyone wanted a piece of her artwork.
Yeah.
That from age 12 through my entire life, that is my favorite pair of tongs.